Augustine Rivero, President of Baseball Operations, Chris Antonetti, and the Cleveland Guardians owner, chairman, and CEO, Paul Dolan. We'll start with opening remarks from Chris Antonetti, followed by remarks from Paul and Jose. We'll then open it up for questions. Following the Q&A, we will make Chris Antonetti, Mike Chernoff, and Matt Foreman available for one-on-one interviews. Chris, we'll start with you.
Good morning, everybody. It's an exciting day, as Austin said, for Jose, for our team, for the organization, for our city, and for our fans. We are thrilled to announce a contract extension for Jose Ramirez through the 2032 season. It's almost hard to say with how that feels to say 2032, but we are thrilled that we have secured Jose's place in Cleveland for the foreseeable future. I'm keep my remarks brief to turn it over to Jose and Paul, but just a few things that are top of mind for me before I'm getting to them. Since 2013, when Jose joined our major league team, he has established himself as one of the most dynamic, complete players in all of baseball. We've had the privilege of watching him develop into a player that impacts the game in every facet, offensively, defensively, and on the bases. Beyond that, he is a passionate teammate, a relentless worker that has this unrelenting desire to win. And he sets a standard really for us, not only for our major league team, but the entirety of the organization. And we're incredibly fortunate to have be along for the ride with Jose for these past 10 years or 13 years. It's funny, when you reflect back, we sat at a very similar event 4 years ago, and Jose was really clear about his priorities. He said he wanted to spend his entire career in Cleveland. He wanted his jersey retired here. He wanted to go to the Hall of Fame as a Cleveland Guardian, and he wanted to win a World Series here. 4 years later, we've all had the benefit of seeing Jose make incredible progress towards each of those goals. And I have no doubt by the end of this contract, he will have achieved them. And he will, when this contract is done and Jose's time here is complete, he will have established himself not only as one of the best baseball players of our generation, but an icon in Cleveland's sport history. And so we are incredibly grateful that today is here and we were able to make this happen. And again, before turning it over, I do want to thank a few people. As you've all seen, this is a very, very complicated contract. It took lots of different shapes and forms to get to this point. And without the work of Rafa Nieves, Jose's agent and representative, Mike Chernoff, Matt Foreman, we would not have been able to work through all of the different considerations to make that happen. Also would like to thank our ownership, Paul Dolan, David Blitzer, who were very involved in these discussions. Without their support and resources, this wouldn't happen. This is the largest contract in our organization's history, and it took an incredible effort to make that happen. And then to Jose. Jose made this a priority. He made it very clear that he wanted to be a Cleveland Guardian for life. And he pushed to make this happen. And without that desire, we would not be sitting here today. And then lastly, I do want to thank our fans and our community. You'll probably hear Jose touch on this, but this is home for him. And this was a really big part of the consideration for him. From the time Jose stepped into the major leagues, our fans, our community has embraced him with open arms, and that was a really big part of Jose's decision. So again, thank you to all of those groups, and with that, I'll turn it over to Paul.
Thank you, Chris, and good morning, everyone. I'm really privileged here to be here today, both as an Cleveland Guardians owner and as a lifelong Cleveland sports fan. Whichever hat I'm wearing, this is a great day for the team, for the franchise, and for the community. During Jose's time with us, we've enjoyed one of the most productive periods in our franchise history, winning at an extraordinary rate for us. And certainly much of that is due to Jose's presence on the team. He's been the heart and soul of this franchise for over a decade. And with that, he has garnered the love of this community in a unique way as a Cleveland athlete. not just the winning, but the production that he's provided. His name is sprinkled across our franchise's career record lists, and I'm sure by the time, whenever his time with Cleveland is done, his name will be at the top of all those lists. But Jose's appeal to this community is not just about the numbers, the wins, and the offensive production. It's really about who he is, the way he plays the game, that strut, that look that says, you know, if you underestimate me, you do so at your own peril. The gritty hustle, the passion, are traits that I think we all like to see in ourselves and project onto him as that is who we are. And that has sort of been the roots of the love affair between the community and Jose. And it goes beyond what he's done on the field, too. In the clubhouse, he's been a leader. I mean, we are a franchise that is heavily dependent upon young players and their development at the major league level. And there is no better way to do that than have a star like Jose Ramirez show them how to play the game, how to do it right. And our fans see that. And they also see what he's meant in the community itself. All you have to do is go down to Tremont and observe Jose Ramirez Field, realize that a player in the middle of his career made that kind of commitment to our community. And that's what Jose has meant to this community for a long, long time. And as Chris alluded, it's not a one-way thing either. You know, in the discussions I've had with Jose over this process, he made it very clear that in a very important consideration for him was how the fans have treated him throughout his career. That, you know, while he has been largely a good player, there have been times when he's been off, but he's recognized that his fans have supported him, good or bad, throughout his career. And he's been around long enough that he's observed that that's not the case in every community. So today, we celebrate with both pride and gratefulness that this young man from the Dominican Republic, this immensely talented young man, has made Cleveland his home. And with today's news, we are joyful that he is going to be staying home for a very long time. So thank you, Jose.
Bueno, darle las gracias primeramente a Dios y también al equipo, la gerencia, el esfuerzo que han hecho de tenerme a mí aquí por el resto de mi carrera. Es algo que siempre he anhelado. De verdad que estoy súper contento y agradecido. Y nada, la meta sigue siendo la misma, que es ganar una serie mundial aquí, porque la ciudad lo merece. Y recuerden que esta es mi casa y eso es lo único que les puedo decir.
Just first of all, just want to thank God and the organization, the From Office, for this effort that they made, and especially for the community for welcoming me here. And for me, remaining here, the ultimate goal remains the same, which is the World Series. So for me, it's important to stay here, the commitment to continue to compete and win a World Series, and that's everything I want to thank you guys today.
¿Algo más que le quieras decir?
¿Quieres que diga algo más?
Sí, ¿por qué decidiste estar aquí? ¿Cómo fue todo el proceso para llegar a este punto?
Bueno, esta ha sido una de las organizaciones que me dio la oportunidad desde que yo tenía 16 años y de verdad mi deseo es de terminar mi carrera aquí, ya que yo y mi familia estamos súper contentos aquí y feliz también con todo lo que yo he vivido en la organización y nada, le estoy devolviendo esto y yo sé que existen muchos comentarios de que yo he cogido poco dinero y eso, pero es algo que de corazón deseo y quiero, que estar aquí, terminar mi carrera aquí, ganar aquí y hacer todo aquí.
I feel it's important for me to highlight that this is the organization that gave me the opportunity in professional baseball, and always there's a lot of discussions about the nature of this contract and why this contract happened. But for me, it's important to be here. This is where my family is, where I want them to be, and most importantly, where I look forward to complete my career. So in the same way how the team has given me that opportunity, I want to make sure that I'm able to retribute that confidence that the team has given me, and that's the reason why I decided to complete my career here in Cleveland.
All right, thank you. We will open it up for questions. I ask that you include who you're directing your question to when you ask.
Mi primera cuestión es por José. Ha hecho mucho trabajo por la juventud aquí en Cleveland. ¿Cómo se siente tener más tiempo aquí en Cleveland, especialmente como modelo a seguir para la comunidad hispana joven de aquí?
The question is like Jose has been involved with the Latin, with the youth community here in Cleveland. Like, what has been your process to make that choice, and why you choose to continue helping the community of Cleveland?
Bueno, se siente bien hacer el bien, porque cuando tú estás haciendo el bien es porque las cosas van marchando bien. Y ese soy yo, y siempre he sido así, una persona amigable de todo el mundo y buscando de hacerlo bien.
I feel like when you do the right thing, good things happen to you. So for me, that's the way to go. Continue doing the right thing by the community, and I feel those things end up happening to me also in a good way. So for me, that's my commitment to continue doing good and doing it that way.
José, yo sé que siendo hispano también tenemos mucho orgullo de nuestro país. ¿Tú sientes ese orgullo también para Cleveland como sientes, como eres de la República Dominicana?
Also for Hispanics
And immigrant as a whole, they had a lot of pride of who they are, who they represent, whether or not, if you still have that pride or continue to have that pride from being from Cleveland as well.
Claro que sí, claro que sí. Yo considero que soy de aquí de Cleveland también. O sea, mi mitad está en Cleveland y mi mitad es dominicana. Todo lo que ha hecho Cleveland por mí, la ciudad, es algo que nunca voy a olvidar. Como mis hijos, que todos han nacido aquí y vivimos aquí y contentos que estoy en esta ciudad.
I agree. I feel I have the same sense of pride from Cleveland than they have from the DR. I can call myself that I'm a 50% Dominican, 50% Clevelander. So my sons were born here, so I take that pride of the city and what it represents to me.
Jose, how do you keep that spirit up when that World Series has been so elusive all these years?
¿Cómo mantiene ese deseo por competir o por ganar esa serie mundial cuando ha sido tan difícil llegar a la serie mundial en los últimos años?
Sí, nadie dijo que las cosas nunca iban a ser fácil. Mantengo esa mentalidad siempre haciendo lo mismo que hago todos los años, trabajando fuerte, tratando de ayudar a mis compañeros, los más jóvenes, y poniéndole la misma meta a todos, de lo que queremos, que es ganar, y así va a suceder la cosa en algún momento.
I knew that from the get-go. I know it's going to be very different for us to get to that point, but that doesn't discourage me from working, from preparing, to getting ready. And I know my role is trying to help the young guys to try to achieve that, and I know at some point we'll be able to.
So you were just talking about spending your full career here. When did you start to realize that you wanted to make this your sole team that you played for in your whole career?
Obviamente ahorita logras la idea de que vas a terminar tu carrera aquí, pero ¿en qué momento fue que pensaste que era una posibilidad que podías terminar tu carrera aquí?
Las posibilidades siempre han existido, y mi mentalidad desde que yo firmé mi primer contrato, la mentalidad era terminar aquí en este equipo, porque fue el equipo que me dio la oportunidad, donde fui muy rechazado, joven, para conseguir una firma. Entonces, como la organización de Cleveland me dio la oportunidad, mi deseo siempre era de tratar de terminar mi carrera aquí.
Since I signed the first contract, I felt that something came to my mind that would be my goal, to try to complete my career here. Because let's not forget, I was rejected plenty of times when I was a amateur player. So whenever this team gave me the opportunity, that's the way I was able to give back for that opportunity they gave me when I was a lot younger.
Jose, did you or your agent approach the Guardians on the contract? Who got this whole thing going for this?
La comunicación para hablar de la extensión, ¿fuiste tú, fue tu agente o cómo fue que comenzaron esas conversaciones para la extensión?
Fui yo empecé, yo le caí encima a mi abogado para que hablara con la organización y explicándole mi deseo y lo que yo quería de terminar mi carrera aquí, porque eso es lo que yo siento y quiero, y que tenía que devolverle mucho a esta ciudad, y así él se puso en contacto con Antonetti, con quien se puso en contacto, y las cosas fluyeron.
I was the one who started the conversation. I was really on the case with my agent, because I felt like we needed to have a conversation, because I felt I owe it to the city to be able to have that commitment. So once we started the conversation, he reached out to Chris or different members of the front office, and that's how we started the conversation for the extension.
When did that happen?
¿Cuándo ocurrió? ¿Cuándo fue que comenzó esa conversación?
¿Con mi abogado? Yo le estaba hablando a él desde el año pasado. Desde el año pasado yo le estaba cayendo encima con eso, para que hablara. Me dice, espera tiempo. Y yo no voy a seguir esperando tiempo. Quiero que tomen una decisión rápido, tú sabes. Cosas que le pasan por la mente a uno, tú sabes. Y hasta que él empezó a hacer su trabajo.
I think we've been talking about this for a year, almost a year, when I was on the case with my agent, and my agent was holding me back a little bit, trying to get some time. But there was a point where, those things come to your mind and you want to just get them out of your head and discuss them, and we're able to start that going this offseason.
Jose, how do you feel? I'm sorry, Austin. Jose, how do you feel like you see these guys getting all this money, these huge contracts? And obviously you're making a lot of money, but it's not, some guys just compare themselves to other people with money. How do you see your life and your view of that?
Obviamente ves los nuevos contratos que están pasando con otros jugadores y quizás mucha gente se compara y quizás sí, tú recibiste una cantidad de dinero significante, pero no es quizás como esos jugadores. ¿Cómo te sientes cuando hay esa comparación con esos jugadores y qué significa para ti este tipo de contrato?
Bueno, la comparación nunca pasa por mi mente. Los contratos son de ellos. El que haga un contrato, que sea feliz con eso. Yo soy feliz con lo que tengo y con lo que he recibido. Es lo único que me pasa por mi mente. O sea, no me enfoco en los otros contratos. Simplemente persigo mi deseo. Y mi deseo era de estar aquí, no importa cuál sea el precio, yo iba a estar.
Yeah, those comparisons are going through my mind. I mean, whoever earns those contracts, congratulations to them, kudos. But for me, it's just what I can control and what matters to me. And for me, is my desire. And my desire is to be here. And for me, with whatever we were to work out here is fine. But for me, it's just the desire that matters, and my desire is to be here.
Jose, this contract wasn't necessarily urgent, so why was this the time to make this move?
Era urgente que había que hacer. ¿Por qué se decide hacer en este año en particular esta extensión?
Porque eso fue lo que entró a mi mente y le caí encima, como te dije, a mi agente, porque yo quería asegurarme de que iba a estar aquí por un largo tiempo, para yo hacer todo lo que quiero hacer aquí. Quiero hacer números, quiero ganar, quiero hacer historia.
It's just like it came to my mind. You know, obviously there's no clear reason, but for me, just have that stability that I know I could do it because I want to, I want to put up the numbers. I want to help the team. I want to make history here. So for me, it's important to get that achieved now.
For Paul and Chris, to bounce off that, it probably goes without saying in today's baseball landscape, a contract like this for a player like Jose is pretty rare. How does this type of commitment help you guys to have that wiggle room to achieve that ultimate goal of winning a World Series?
Yeah, as you said, this is a unique contract. It's rare that you look with 3 years left on a contract that you would look to restructure things. But we're talking about a very unique player with Jose Ramirez. There's no one else like him in our organization's recent history. And so when Jose made it clear what his priorities were, we wanted to try to find a way to make it work. And from the first conversation I had with Paul and David and relayed Jose's interest, there was a genuine desire to try to find a way to make it happen, because we have a profound respect and appreciation for Jose and what he's meant to our team, what he means to our city, what he means to our fans. And so if there was that opportunity to find a way to make it happen, we were all committed to doing that. And I think we've seen over the last 10 years, Jose has been a driving force behind some very competitive baseball. And there's no one better, no one else we would rather have leading the way into the future other than Jose.
Go Joe and then Paul.
Chris, how surprised were you when Rafa and Jose approached you guys about wanting to redo a deal with 2 or 3 years remaining, and just a peace of mind that, we're not going into 27 or 28 wondering if this is the last year or anything?
Joe, I don't think we were surprised at all. Jose, as I mentioned, 4 years ago, was really clear about what his priorities were. He wanted to spend his whole career here. The last extension was a first step towards that. And then, as Jose mentioned, this isn't something that just happened in the past few weeks. We had dialogue going back over the course of the last year where Jose reiterated his desire to try to make that happen. And those talks intensified and really progressed starting in November. And then ultimately we were able to reach the end point here in the last week or so.
Jose, there's deferred money in this contract. I was wondering whose idea that was and why you deferred as much money as you did.
Hay una parte del contrato que es diferido. ¿De quién vino esa idea de hacer un dinero diferido y quién tuvo esa idea para que se pusiera en el contrato?
Esos son negociaciones que van fluyendo. O sea, son negociaciones que lo van manejando entre gerencia y dueño y la gente. Es algo que yo no he tenido control del diferido, pero al final es el dinero, está ahí. O sea, puede ser más tarde o lo que sea, pero mi mentalidad estaba en terminar mi carrera aquí, no importa cuánto dinero iban a diferir. Al final era que yo quería jugar aquí al resto de mi carrera.
I feel like that type of terms come from the negotiations. That's not something that I was handling. That comes more from the ownership and the front office and my agent. For me, the reassurance was to be able to complete my career here, and that's how they finally got in an agreement. But for me, it was more about having the certainty to play the remainder of my career here.
Chris, with the deferred money, does that give you more flexibility?
Well, again, I think it's important to remember that Jose's going to receive all of that money, and the Major League Baseball rules require that we fund that deferred compensation at the time really it's earned. So there is some savings, but it's not that material in terms of how we, can reallocate that elsewhere.
Paul, I'm sorry. Paul, sorry about that. Should I go through? I'll try again. Hey, Paul, what did you think when you first heard about this idea of wanting not only to but how to structure a contract? How, in your mind, did you kind of get to 7 years with the deferred and just the way that worked?
Well, the idea that Jose wanted to extend to his comments and Chris was sort of being discussed for a good portion of the year, or at least during much of last season, but we didn't get serious about it until relatively recently. And there are any number of levers in contract negotiations, frankly, because we don't have as much experience maybe as some other franchises in dealing with contracts of this length and this magnitude. We haven't had to look at it, but given Jose and his value, we certainly chose to look at these different devices, including deferral, as a way of sort of coming to the meeting in the middle on a deal.
This is for Jose. Jose, what is the biggest difference for you between you now and the Jose that signed the first contract extension back in 2017?
In regards of his play
As a player or as a person?
¿Cuál crees que es la mayor diferencia tuya del José que firmó su primer contrato al José que firmó este contrato ahorita como pelotero, como persona? ¿Qué sientes que ha sido el mayor cambio que has tenido, la mayor diferencia? No sé si tu familia, tu madurez, tu
bueno,
los
yo entiendo,
números.
lo que yo entiendo, bueno, tú sabes que uno mientras los años van pasando, uno empieza a coger más madurez, empieza a tener su familia, empieza a tener cosas. Es lo único, pero nada en particular ha cambiado en mí. Yo siempre he tratado de ser el mismo, siempre.
I feel it's a little bit of maturity and wisdom. That's the only difference because, you start having family and more things in your life. But I keep being the same guy. So for me, it's just maturity, I guess.
Jose, you guys again will have a young roster headed into this season. I believe it was Chris that talked about the investment you've made in the young guys. Why do you feel a sense of responsibility to coach up and mentor some of the young guys on the team?
El equipo mencionó la importancia de los jugadores jóvenes y el liderazgo que tú has tenido. ¿Por qué para ti es importante tener ese rol de liderazgo y ayudar a los muchachos jóvenes que van viniendo a través del sistema?
Bueno, yo entiendo que la oficina ha sido muy claro conmigo sobre el mercado pequeño que somos. No van a haber tantas firmas. Tenemos muchos jóvenes que tienen bastante futuro y creo que van a hacer la cosa bien. Y nada, yo estoy aquí para ayudarlo a ellos, a desarrollarlo y tratar de que me ayuden a ganar juntos. Y esa es la mentalidad.
I feel that the front office has been very upfront with me in the dynamic how we operate, and for me it's important to help all the young guys because that's how we're going to compete. And for me it's really important to make them the best teammates that we can. So I think that's my responsibility to help them in any way I can to be the better players that they can be.
Jose, who is the player that you looked up to when you were a rookie that you're kind of fulfilling that role now?
¿Qué sientes que es como ese rol que puso ese ejemplo de veterano cuando tú eres un joven que ahora tú estás intentando hacer? O sea, ¿qué tipo de veterano piensas que eres tú hoy día? Comparado con qué jugador tú admirabas en su momento.
Bueno, por aquí han pasado muchos jugadores que me han ayudado mucho, como Carlos Santana, Mike Napoli, muchos jugadores que han sido mentor para mí y me han ayudado en mi carrera con la mentalidad.
I think it's a combination of different players. I mean, I can mention Santana or Mike Napoli. Those are veterans. At the time, they helped me a lot to become the player that I am today.
This is for Jose. Jose, obviously, the fans, you're beloved here. You hear your name chanted through the stadium. What do you say to the fans? How big of a part did they play in your decision?
Obviamente sabes que eres muy querido aquí y cada vez que los fanáticos llaman tu nombre, ¿qué tienes que decirle a ellos como agradecimiento? ¿Qué piensas de ellos por la recepción que te han dado?
No, contento siempre con el apoyo de la fanaticada. Siempre aquí han sido leales siempre, no solo conmigo, sino con todo el mundo. Y yo creo que es momento de ponerlo a gozar y vamos a dar lo mejor. Tratar de ganar para que ellos, ese es tal vez el deseo de ellos.
I think I'm always thankful to them, especially the way how they treat me and the loyalty they show, not only to me but to the team. And for me, that continues being the goal, trying to accomplish that and make them enjoy us and get the ultimate satisfaction will winning it all. So for me, that's the ultimate goal as well.
Jose, do you feel this winter the front office has done enough to add to the offense this winter to to show improvement over last season, to give you a little more protection in the lineup?
¿Sientes que la oficina ha hecho lo suficiente para ponerte más protección en el lineup esta temporada muerta?
Bueno, yo simplemente, como te dije, entiendo el mercado, cómo es este mercado, que no van a invertir como otro equipo. Simplemente yo me he preparado para dar lo mejor de mí, ayudar todo lo que pueda, a ganar, que es lo que quiero. Y eso son cosas que ustedes tienen que preguntárselas a ellos a la oficina.
I understand the market that we're in, so obviously what I can control is how I prepare and how I get about the season. So I think those are questions that you might be directed to the team, to the front office. But for me, I just control what I can control, which is getting ready for the season.
Jose, you said it's 50-50 Cleveland, Dominican Republic, but the World Baseball Classic is coming up. Are you intending to play in that?
Sabe que dice que eres 50-50 de Cleveland, Dominicana, pero ahora viniendo el clásico, ¿qué esperas hacer?
No quiero hablar basado en el tema del clásico ahora mismo. Estamos concentrados en mi contrato y eso es lo único que puedo decir.
At the moment, I don't want to talk about any other thing. We're just focusing on my contract here with Cleveland.
Chris, what did you think when the idea first was, I guess, a year ago now about the contract thing? What were your thoughts and kind of, as that went along, trying to figure out how to get this done?
Yeah, I think even going back to the prior extension, Terry, our hope and desire was that Jose would play his entire career in Cleveland. We weren't sure exactly how long that would be or when the next time to address it might be, but it became pretty evident to us how important this was to Jose. And as soon as he brought it up, like I said, there was consistent and unanimous support to try to make things work.
Chris, we know how Jose impacts the young players by leading by example, leadership in the clubhouse, all of that, and how he impacts their growth. But how does he directly impact your guys' mission to ultimately bring that World Series back here?
Yeah, that's the goal, and we've tried to be really clear with that, is we want to win a World Series. We think having Jose on our roster for the foreseeable future helps us do that. And now it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we can build the team around him, that he can help support and develop, to make sure that we make that a reality. We know we have our work cut out for us. The goal is the same, winning the World Series, but we acknowledge in Cleveland we have to do things differently. But that doesn't change what we're trying to accomplish.
Chris, how refreshing is it for you when so many players just chase the last dollar to have a talent like Jose who doesn't do that?
Well, I respect the fact that each individual needs to make their own choices and determine what's most important for them. But what I can say is just from the day Jose joined the organization, through his time in the minor leagues, from when he made his major league debut, he has always made it clear what's important to him. He wants to show up every day to be the best player he can be. He wants to win a World Series. And going back to that very first contract, he was clear that he wanted to spend his career in Cleveland. Now, when it's a 23-year-old that says that, you're not sure how the future is going to play out. But there, every step along the way, and every time Jose had to make a decision, he has been unwavering. And he said, I want to play my entire career in Cleveland, and I will do my part to make that happen.
Chris, since Jose said to ask you that, just do you feel like your offense around him is in the position you want it to be, given its shortcomings last season?
We need to be better offensively. We were not good enough last year offensively. And so our belief, though, is that we can get better and will get better through the players that are within the organization. And we've had choices to make this offseason about what do we do. As I've shared, the reality, I mean, we all know in the current Major League Baseball economic system, we are not in a position to compete for top free agents. So we have to think about alternate ways of building teams. And when we went into the offseason, we had to make some decisions. And we feel that we are best served and can get the best offense and best team production by giving opportunities to the young players that are here. And there were some players that we targeted that fit a very defined role on our team, but we weren't able to get them. And it wasn't a financial reason. In fact, the players that we made offers to signed elsewhere for very comparable deals. It was more about playing time. Because we wanted to give those young players opportunities, the players we targeted felt that they could play more somewhere else. So, yes, we need to get better. We need to be a better offensive team than we were last year, but our belief is that we can do that with the players on our roster. If that proves not to be correct, I think, we've always had the flexibility to address needs during the season. And if that's the way the season shakes out, then I'm confident we'll have the resources to improve the team at that point.
Chris, can I follow up with that? Emmanuel Clase, is there any update on that? Are you guys still on the hook for his salary in 2026 if this doesn't get resolved?
We are still awaiting resolution from that for Major League Baseball at this point, Jeff. We don't have any additional clarity beyond what we've shared already.
So that would mean that you would be on
I don't want to speculate. I don't know is the honest answer. Both players remain on the restricted list. They finished last season on the restricted list, but through the end of last season, we paid them. That's correct.
All this franchise has been around for a long time. It's seen great players come and go. When it comes to legacy for Jose, knowing that he's going to be here start to finish, how does that embolden that legacy even more?
It's an extraordinary thing because we have, in our tenure, I think I'm coming on my 27th year, and we've seen some great players come and go, and don't begrudge them what they did in terms of moving on in their career. But when we have someone of Jose's stature who is, by all appearances, going to spend his entire career here, that is so unique and I think really special for the franchise. We look forward, as I sort of mentioned in my opening remarks, that his name will be at the top of all of our career lists, and I think it will be. There may be a few Bob Feller fans who might argue differently, but I think Jose will come down as the greatest player in the history of our franchise, and I don't know how to measure that, but I know that it's an extraordinary benefit to the franchise and really great for our fans.
So just wanted to follow up on that, Paul. Having watched Jose throughout his career, was there a point when you kind of realized, what you had there, that he could be this kind of face of the franchise? And I guess this is for Chris too, when that kind of dawned on you guys that you had something that special?
I think it was pretty early in his career. I mean, just going back to the World Series in 2016 and how he performed on the largest stage there as a relatively young player and new to our franchise. You knew you had something special there at that moment, and he's just gone from there.
Jose, what does it mean to kind of evolve and grow into a player in person like you have through your entire career in Cleveland? Because, I mean, you did struggle your first couple years, and there was the car on the outfield during spring training 1 year, but just how much does it mean for you to evolve into a leader and kind of a franchise icon?
¿Qué se siente para ti haber evolucionado a través de tu carrera con lo que eres hoy? Como desde el punto que comenzaste tu carrera, un muchacho joven que tuvo sus pequeñas dificultades al principio y por ejemplo, pasando adversidades como cuando te pusieron el carro en medio del shortstop, en la práctica, en el sprint training, todo ese proceso, ¿cómo ha sido ese aprendizaje, esa evolución de José Ramírez a José Ramírez que es hoy día?
Bueno, aprendí mucho. Al principio de mi carrera las cosas no me salieron fácil, pero yo seguí atrás de mi meta, lo que yo quería, seguí enfocado, trabajando, sin importar nada, y hasta que las cosas fueron mejorando y hasta ahora que estamos aquí, gracias a Dios.
I mean, obviously, early on, my career wasn't as easy as many may think. I had my sort of struggle, and I had to learn how to struggle with that. So for me, it was continuing working and having hope that things will turn out better. And luckily, things have turned out for the better for my career, and I just continue enjoying what I'm able to be today without forgetting that at the beginning it was really difficult for me.
Chris, Jose kind of touched on his growth mentally and maturity throughout his time here in Cleveland. From your lens, how have you seen that growth from the time he was that young guy to where he is now?
Yeah, it's been incredible to retrace Jose's career. he alluded to it a little bit earlier, but he came up, in the minor leagues as a second baseman, and in our great wisdom, we played him at shortstop and left field. And to Jose's credit, he didn't blink. All he cared about was getting opportunities to play and to try to help the team win. And despite the fact that he hadn't played those positions, he embraced that and took it as a challenge. And as he said, it was hard for him, but he found a way to overcome that. He then eventually transitioned to third base, and he's written the history from that point on. And I think it's a great testament to someone to the value of showing up every day and putting in the work to try to get a little bit better and try to make an impact. And for those of us that are around Jose, we get a chance to see it every day. He's been that way since he entered the organization. He has always thought about, how do I show up today to put the work in to try to get a little bit better and help my team win? And now it sounds simple, but that mindset has paid off with great dividends and helped him grow into develop into the player we see today.
All right. Jose, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. As I mentioned, we'll have Chris Antonetti, Mike Chernoff up here. We'll have Matt Foreman against that wall with the Cleveland Guardians over there. And one housekeeping note, if you parked, please scan the QR code for parking. All right. Thank you, everyone.